Hello everyone, JamieStarr here for the New World News Network. I found this earlier this week. I believe it was on Lauren Southern's Twitter. And I mean, it's amazing because in a day and age where people want to talk about equality and everything like that, you have outright racism and segregation. I'm not talking about reverse racism. There is no reverse racism. There's just racism. And here you have the Canadian Broadcast Company, I assume, with a advertisement. They're looking for a kids host. If you're here to find instructions regarding a self-tape audition submission for the male kids CBC host, you're in the right place. Below you'll find a PDF with the audition material and all of the instructions. Please only submit if you match the following criteria. Male between ages of 23 to 35. Any race except Caucasian. There's that privilege for you. You're not welcome to apply for this job because you have privilege. This job is not available to you because you're white, so you should already be getting money from your privilege. So, you see, Kids CBC, they are aiming this now at younger and younger groups. And I had pulled this, it's only a little tidbit, so you just kind of got to reference it in part of the bigger picture. But then I was handed a doozy today. I was watching This Week in Stupid with Sargon of Akkad, and there was this. Elite K-8 school teaches white students they're born racist. And if you really get into this, an elite Manhattan school is teaching white students as young as 6 that they're born racist and should feel guilty benefiting from white privilege, while heaping praise and cupcakes on their black peers. Administrators at the Bank Street School for Children of the Upper West Side claim it's a novel approach to fighting discrimination and that several other private New York schools are doing it, but even liberal parents aren't buying it. And here's where I try to say that these people think they're fighting discrimination, but instead they are laying the foundation for a new group of racists. Here you see in this thing, children in the KOC affinity group will voice their feelings, feel embraced, explore risks, share experiences about being a kid of color, having an opportunity to be in a majority setting, understanding assimilation in a dedicated space, not in reality, in their bubble, in their controlled environment. Children in the advocacy group will raise awareness of the prevalence of whiteness and privilege, challenge notions of colorblindness. They don't want you to accept everyone as equal. They want you to look at someone and say, this person is brown, therefore I must function under these preconceived notions. They want these children acting under the very classical definition of racism. They are teaching it to these kids. Oh my God. Challenge assumptions of normal, good, and American. Like the idea that we're all immigrants. Fuck out of here. Understand assimilation. I'm surprised cultural appropriation isn't in there. Actively respond. Learn models of white anti-racist advocates. So basically, they are teaching the white kids, you are bad, you are inherently bad, you are lesser, and then telling these other kids, you're a victim, these other children are victimizing you, and we have to social engineer them to do whatever you say, otherwise you can call them racist. And it's amazing. It's so amazing that this shit is even like plausible, like that this was even a thought, let alone put into action. And I try to tell people that the kickback from this is going to be ridiculous. Like, I can't see. At some point, this is going to turn ugly, and they are setting the grounds for something ugly to come of it. But in order to stop it, I feel like it's going to end up having to get ugly. Ever since Ferguson, the school has been increasing anti-white propaganda in its curriculum, said a parent who requested anonymity because he has children currently enrolled in the school. Bank Street has created a dedicated space in the school for kids of color. Segregated space, dedicated or safe, it's euphemisms. This is all word games where they are bringing back segregation and racism, and the education system has dumbed people down to the point where they don't think. There's only a Pavlovian response to words, and where if they just change out the words, they can set up the exact same situation and people will feel a completely different way about it. And that's what it's all based in, their feelings. Feelings of racism. The racism out in the world. Let me tell you, the world is not a dedicated space. So you're screwing these children up. They're embraced by minority instructors and encouraged to voice their feelings and share experiences about being a kid of color, according to the school presentation slides obtained by the Post. Let me tell you something. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I don't give a fuck about how you feel about what color you are. It's petty. It's absurd. The world is not filled with racists. The world is filled with weak and whiny, obnoxious little fucks who will look for whatever excuse they can to rationalize their own personal inadequacies. And when given the opportunity to place all of those inadequacies and shortcomings on something that cannot be changed, like the color of their skin or their gender or something of that nature, they will leap at it. That's the reality. Is that weak, feeble people will look for an opportunity to write off their shortcomings on someone else. And the opportunity to put it on something they cannot change will be leaped at. Meanwhile, white kids are herded into separate classrooms and taught to raise their awareness of the prevalence of whiteness and privilege, challenge notions of colorblindness and assumptions of normal good and American, and understand and own European ancestry and see the tie to privilege. This again goes into these crazy, say nothing statements of, well, white people have had a 200-year head start. 200-year head start to what? Go to the fucking bottle bums up the road that have been collecting bottles and cans just so they can get a bite to eat and tell them that they have had a head start. I mean, really, head start to where? I hate to tell you this, but white people don't act as a group. I've said this before. I don't look at Mark Zuckerberg putting out a new Facebook update and be like, oh yeah, look at what us white people gave you. Bet you love us and our whiteness, us white people, giving you all everything. I don't need to take credit for anyone else's bullshit. And the fact is, I've never heard an accomplished black person try to take credit for any black society accomplished. Black society hasn't accomplished anything. And you want to know the truth? Neither has white society. Now, members and people, and even sometimes groups within those societies have accomplished something, but the society as a whole does not invent anything. They do not create anything as a whole. It is individual people. This again is this crazy sort of collectivist, Obama's, you didn't build your business mentality it's destroying our country and leading to a revival of segregation. The same slides point out that a number of leading private schools across the country have also segregated students by race-based affinity groups. It lists several in New York, including Riverdale Country School, Brooklyn Field School, the Cathedral School, the Calhoun School, Ethnic Culture Fieldston School, and Little Red Schoolhouse, and Elizabeth Irving High School. Under Bank Street's racial justice and advocacy curriculum, parents say teachers push white kids to grapple with America's history of racism. Even though America, despite having slavery, like plenty of other countries, like plenty of countries still currently have, America was the first to end slavery. No one wants to give us credit for that, or all the white people that died trying to end it, or that Christianity was a large part of ending it and bringing people together. No, all of that stuff we don't want to talk about. But then they indoctrinate them into thinking systemic racism still exists, and that they're part of the problem and must hold themselves accountable for even the acts of racism committed by others. This is the Stockholm Syndrome stuff you have going on, where white women are getting raped by Muslim migrants and saying, well, they're brown, so I can't press rape charges on them because socioeconomically they're disadvantaged. They're poor little babies, and I don't want to be a racist for picking on the little minorities. And that's the other thing that really bothers me. You know, Azealia Banks is a raging cunt who occasionally sometimes gets it right. And she had said that Hillary and Bernie and the Democrats in general talk to black people as if they are pets. And that's what this is, where when you create these dynamics, and as much it sounds weird to people when I say that them putting down these white kids and making them feel guilty is going to create white supremacy, but it's going to happen that way, as backwards as it seems, because it will be the lashback, because you're going to have some kids that are going to look and not feel guilty, but you've created the black people to feel such inadequacies and so victimized that either they will lash back violently and have consequences of society, or they will just sort of feel disenfranchised and the white people will continue doing what they're doing. They are basically, putting these minorities, taking away all of their agency and, the idea that they're responsible for their own actions and everything like that. So they're not going to live up to their full potential because they're told your full potential will get stomped out by systemic racism. 100% of the curriculum is what whites have done to other races, said another Bank Street parent. They offer nothing that would balance the story. Oh, like most freed black slaves owned slaves, like blacks sold other blacks in slavery, like Muslims still have slaves. Oh no, we don't need to mention that. Added the parent, who also asked to go unnamed. And this is the other thing, is that you can tell this is a ongoing problem, that it's sort of evolving, because these parents are fucking spineless. I mean, none of them want to go on record. None of them. Why is your kid in this school? You are a horrible parent. In my honest opinion, if you as a parent are, and again, there's a part of me that doesn't agree with CPS or anything like that, but if you are a parent who knows this is going on at your school, you will anonymously talk to a newspaper about your problems with it, but you are so spineless that you won't even put your name to it. You won't even take your children out of this school. You do not deserve to be a parent. You have a lack of responsibility, and you cannot be trusted with raising a child because you are putting them in to abusive situations, and you are completely acknowledging that you are putting them in an emotionally abusive and traumatizing situation, and you're just whatever about it. Just don't name my name. I don't want to be called racist for complaining about it. Fucking protect your kids, you dicks. Oh my God. When I'm Supreme Commander and Dictator, we got reservations for the gas chambers at this rate. We're going to be backed up because there's a whole list of fools at this rate who we can go without. It's going to be move or go in the oven. That's what's going on when I'm in power. Just so everyone knows. This shit ends immediately. Day one. We're not talking exporting or rounding up and getting rid of immigrants. We're talking hardcore fucking foolishness will be exterminated. And that's what this is. This is foolishness. This, like I said, I can't believe this stuff when it was brought up at a board meeting when they were like, hey, how about we segregate all the kids? We'll teach all the white ones they're bad. We'll give all the black ones fucking goodies and cupcakes and shit just because they're black, and tell them, you know, that their feelings trump everything and that they're getting these cupcakes and the white kids don't get cupcakes because they're privileged, and obviously privilege means getting no cupcakes, or as we see from the CBC, no job offers. And then, I mean, why was this not just laughed out of the room? Whoever brought this idea up should have been fired. Because they're the racist one. Oh my God. They say white kids are being brainwashed into thinking any success they achieve is unearned. Indeed, a young white girl is seen confessing on a Bank Street video, "I feel guilty for having a privilege I don't deserve." FAQ about the racial and advocacy curriculum. Is this curriculum a form of segregation? Segregation derives from government laws and societal systems of oppression based on the privilege of one other group over another. So we already see that they are delving into the Marxism. The school for children has not developed a system of privilege for the children of color, but a program. See, you notice how, again, this little semantical thing where they can change things. Well, it's not a system, because systems are racist, but programs aren't. It's this snotty fucking aristocratic fucking head up your own ass so you have no common sense bullshit. But a program that addresses the sociological and psychological needs of children of color in a predominantly white setting. This is accomplished by grounding the work in affinity groups and creating an opportunity for the children of color to meet in a majority setting. So, and this is the whole thing. Again, if you swap out all this, a majority setting, a minority setting, I mean, I don't understand this shit about fucking representation. When I watch some of my favorite movies like Paid in Full and American Gangster and shit like that, I don't sit around being like, there's no white person, there's no white guy, I'm not represented. I'm not represented. Yeah, because I'm not fucking Frank Lucas. I'm not a fucking gangster selling dope. Why would I be represented in someone else's story? But you have this. I mean, BuzzFeed just had a bunch of douchebag Asians asking questions for white people. Trust me, I'll get into that. How come you get mad at Asians aren't represented in everything? Because there's only 5% of you fucks. Why should you be? We'll give you 5%. I mean, this is ridiculous. I hate all of this semantical garbage, and especially because half the time the words don't mean anything. Children are colorblind, and a KOC affinity group highlights differences of which many children are not aware. So what they're saying are, these children, because colorblind is a term for basically meaning you want to ignore their race, you think it's petty, you think it's trivial, and you think it doesn't matter. So what they're saying is, the children, because children are blank slates, they're not racist, so we need to make them aware of race, and we need to make them racist. I mean, this is going to end up great. I would love to see 20 years from now where these children are. Research shows that children beginning in infancy do notice all kinds of differences, including those in skin color, facial features, and hair. Research also indicates by the age 7, children enter a developmental stage where negative racial concepts can be reinforced. In the recent past, children of color in our lower school have been told by well-intentioned peers that their skin color looks like the color of poop. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, there's a racist on YouTube who calls white people toilet seat complexion. What's your point? The KOC affinity group is a place where children of color can process being on the receiving end of such comments, which, although innocent or sometimes factual, are you saying it's factual that some people are the color of poop? Can ultimately be hurtful. Bullies are bullies. I mean, what's your point? A black kid was once told he might be the color of poop. Let's segregate the kids. I mean, again, who didn't laugh at this? Oh, if this wasn't a screenshot, I would scroll through this, but... Parents, moreover, say the classroom segregation only breeds resentment. Oh, who would have thought? Younger children, for instance, feel left out when the kids of color come back to the main classroom munching on their privilege cakes, or cupcakes, they were given in their affinity group. The divisive program is run by, I'm not even trying to say it, a longtime social justice activist who's held the title of Director of Diversity. That's another thing that will end under my reign of supremacy as Supreme Commander and Dictator. And there will be no more diversity jobs. Diversity will be out the window. So will equality. And that's how we're going to achieve equality. But no one's welcome at the table. How about that? That's how it goes. No pride parades, no months, none of nothing. You won't be acknowledged. Go off, fuck off, do what you're gonna do, and I don't give a shit who you are or about your identity. Go fuck yourself. And that's how I'm going to rule. And I honestly think, at this point, that sounds appealing to people. At Bank Street, since 2013, she referred questions to the school's communications office, which did not respond to requests for comments. Oh, of course. Of course. What made you think a social justice warrior would actually want to engage in a dialogue? Sit down and shut up. Still, Wall's radical beliefs come to clear view from recorded conversations with parents, as well as handouts and emails to parents. She believes the answers to racism is teaching white kids to see race in everything, a process called white racial socialization. I wish I could enlarge this handout. Forget teaching them to be colorblind. That's a cop-out, she suggests. An excuse to ignore the hardships of people of color. It's also a tool of whiteness to perpetuate the oppression of people of color. Yes, to ignore someone's race and to... I mean, could you imagine having this conversation with Martin Luther King? Could you imagine if he was like... Well, I have this dream that everyone would be, accepted by the content of their character. And then this little schmuck comes along and says, that's a cop-out. That's a tool of whiteness. That you're perpetuating oppression. I mean, could you imagine Martin Luther King looking at her like she just grew 3 heads? Being like, okay, so... to fight racial stereotyping, we need to perpetuate racial stereotyping and presumptions? Okay. Wall believes even white babies display signs of racism, so she encourages parents to talk to their kids about race as early as kindergarten, making them hyper-aware of racial differences, and even examine your own whiteness. I don't identify as white. I don't identify by anything except Jamie. And sometimes James, because that's my actual legal name. But no one ever calls me it, so if someone did, I might not even respond. I might think they're talking to someone else. But as far, like I've said numerous times, I don't. Collectivism is not for me. She defends segregating minority children by race by arguing they need a safe place, safe from the racist little infants, the goo goo gaga, fuck a nigga, goo goo gaga. I mean, could you, what fucking psychotic cunt looks at a baby and says that baby is racist? I mean, how this woman needs to be locked away, if not just executed. Like, and I hope people know I'm halfway joking when I talk in these extremes, but this is what I'm talking about, where, like, there needs to be, like, you know, I agree that there's a method to Sharia law. You know, if someone steals something and you lock them up for 30 days with a bunch of other criminals, they're going to come out and they're going to steal again, except now they've gotten some advice, so they might be better at it. Just take off their hand, then they can't take anything. And that's what we need to do with these people. This woman should be brought out in front of the school and hung. And it should be made an example to everyone that we're not going to tolerate this sort of racist nonsense. We're not going to have these pseudo-intellectuals being like, examine your own whiteness, the social constructs of microaggressions. The infant is microaggressing the minority. We need to stop them. We need to teach them from the second they are able to think that they are evil because of the history of their skin color. Hang them by the fucking neck by the flagpole in front of the school and let the corpse rot there from now until the end of time, so everyone sees that this shit will not be tolerated. That's how we stop it. I know, you know, Sargon, I commend you for the petition, but fuck that. I want executions. I want this shit to be an afterthought at this point, because it's not getting any better. It's only getting worse. You want to stop racism? We need to put an end to these people. Exiled? I'll settle for exile. Send them off to an island. Give them their own safe space from all the racists. We can just put the social justice warriors together. You know they'll just end up cannibalizing and eating one another, but that's whatever. She defends segregating minority children by race by arguing they need safe places where they can share their ouch moments, include, again, babying the minorities. These are your ouch moments from the racists, including subtle but offensive white comments known as microaggressions. Bank Street wants to give kids of color a space to talk about shared experiences, because even in society today, people of color are treated unfairly. Really? Because I got another article I'm doing a video on where a group of black people shut down a pride parade because they weren't being represented and the gay people are the racists. In the recent past year, the children of color in lower school have been told by well-intentioned peers that skin looks like the color of poop. How is that well-intentioned? How are you well-intentioned telling someone their skin looks like poop? That's obviously an insult. The school is merely empowering children of color who feel alienated and devalued in a dominant white culture. I'm sure you're not teaching them to feel alienated and devalued in a dominant white culture. But some parents fear the school is nurturing resentment among minority pupils and reinforcing perceptions of victimization. Her extreme diversity program is based on the premise that America is still plagued by systemic racism, which she claimed she saw firsthand while serving as a juror hearing criminal cases in Brooklyn. She told parents she was shocked to learn that every case involved a minority defendant. Well, minorities do commit more crime than others. In the same May 2015 meeting with parents, she cited the GI Bill as proof of white privilege, claiming that popular post-World War II legislation only benefited white soldiers and their heirs, when in fact, black enrollment in colleges exploded under the GI Bill. Cherry-picking facts. That's a favorite technique of social justice warriors. Most recently, parents were obsessed with her airing a documentary film lionizing leaders of the violent Black Panther movie. On May 31st, the Bank Street School screened Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution, which depicts Black Panther's founder and convicted cop killer Huey Newton as a martyr. In 2013, moreover, parents expressed outrage over an email from Y that seemed to sympathize with Muslim terrorists after the Boston bombing. Who would have thought? I mean, the same people that when a Muslim migrant kills a bunch of gay people, they go after Christians and gun owners. In April 17th of 2013, message from Anishua Over, Director of Diversity and Community. The Boston Marathon, Another perspective. It advised students and parents to be mindful of stereotypes and dangerous ideas regarding Arabs and Muslims. It linked to an article titled, "Let's Hope the Boston Bomber is a White American." Why does this person have a job? Let alone, here's a bunch of hanger from right there. Whoever co-signed her idea, hang them from that other post. And you'll have the two of them just hanging there like scarecrows, keeping out all of the racists. How is this going on? How are we allowing this? Why are these parents so spineless? I have a never-ending list of questions that this brings to mind. But why, in 2016, do we have segregation? That's the bigger question. Why is there an environment in which segregation can make a comeback? And I hate to say it, but if you want proof that this whole white supremacist system, white power, white privilege and everything is a nonsense, we have returned to segregation, and it wasn't the doing of white people. And that's all you need to know. Subscribe to the channel, check the links below. Have a good one.